Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the psychology of fear. We're going to look at why these true stories of stalking and home invasion can get under our skin and leave this haunting impression, one that can totally change how we see our own safety.
So, let's think about this. We all love scary stories, right? Movies, books, true crime shows. But what is it that makes certain stories just crawl under your skin and refuse to leave? It's not usually about the jump scares. It's that chilling feeling of, hey, this could actually happen to me. And this quote, this is the perfect example of that chilling, normal feeling. It's not some monster growling, it's a calm, polite request. From a man who's been hiding in a storage shed outside a vacation rental. It's that jarring difference between the everyday tone and the terrifying reality that turns a simple story into a core memory of pure terror.
The real power behind these stories, well, it all starts with the violation of the one place we're supposed to feel completely safe, our home. You know, psychologically, our whole sense of self is tangled up with the security of our own personal space. So when that's breached, it's not just a physical thing. It's like an attack on our very identity.
This right here breaks down our core assumptions versus the awful reality of these situations. See, we all live with the belief that our homes, our rooms, our private spaces, they're shielded. But these stories, they just shatter that belief, and they replace our expectation of control with the harsh reality of complete helplessness.
This quote, wow. It comes from a 10-year-old kid who was left home alone during a family emergency, and it's the ultimate expression of that violation. I mean, can you imagine a bigger shock than seeing total strangers standing in the middle of your sanctuary? In that one instant, every bit of safety you ever took for granted just vanishes. Okay, so this brings us to the next layer of terror. Because the violation isn't always some sudden shock. A lot of the time, it's this slow, creeping psychological dread. The feeling of being watched, of having your entire life documented by someone you can't even see.
This timeline is just a masterclass in how psychological terror builds. It starts with something you'd probably just dismiss, seeing the same face in a huge crowd. Then it gets direct. Then it becomes invasive. By the time the victim actually sees him standing in her doorway, she's probably already wondering if she's going crazy. And then the muddy boot prints. That's the terrifying proof. It wasn't paranoia. It was real.
And this is when the violation becomes so deeply personal, when the stalker lets you know what they know. This one sentence turns a random gas station into a fixed point of observation. The victim's whole routine, just her day-to-day existence, has been noticed and filed away. Her predictable life just became her biggest weakness.
And the threat just gets deeper here. He isn't just watching her anymore, he's memorizing her safety procedures. He's studying the very thing she does to feel secure. He's basically telling her, your locks don't matter, because I know your every single move.
You see, it's the intimacy of details like this that is so terrifying. This isn't just a random threat. It's a deep, obsessive study of the victim's smallest habits. He's letting her know that he sees her more clearly than anyone else, which is a horrifying way of claiming psychological ownership.
The event itself might only go on for a few minutes, but the psychological impact, it's profound and it's permanent. From a clinical point of view, survivors often develop these trauma responses that completely change how they see and interact with the world around them.
So what happens is the brain literally gets stuck in survival mode. After a severe breach of safety like this, the amygdala, which is kind of like your brain's alarm system, can get locked in the on position. This means your whole nervous system gets rewired to see potential danger absolutely everywhere. Every little creak in the floorboards, every car that's behind you for too long, it all gets registered as a potential life or death threat.
And this is what that rewired brain looks like in day-to-day life. These aren't just quirky habits. They are permanent scars, trauma responses. You've got the Coachella victim who now always has to glance at her doorway first. The gas station clerk who has to move to a whole new town. And that last one is especially haunting. A man hearing his sister's voice, locking himself away in fear, only to find out she was never even there. It just shows you how trauma can completely blur the lines of reality itself.
So why are we, the audience, so completely captivated by these terrifying stories? Well, it's because these true stories are basically our modern ghost stories. The monsters aren't spirits or ghouls, they're the all-too-real people who walk among us every day. These four elements right here are the psychological triggers that make a story impossible to forget. First, the attack on a safe space makes it personal. It taps into our primal need for a secure den. Then the slow escalation builds up this unbearable suspense. Ambiguity is key because it forces our own minds to create the monster. And finally, the proof. The muddy boot prints, the forgotten hat, that just erases all doubt and cements the horror as fact.
At the end of the day, these stories hit so hard because they remind us of a fundamental vulnerability. They show us that the most terrifying threats don't always have to break down the door. Sometimes they use a stolen key. Sometimes we invite them in. And sometimes, as one survivor found out, they've been hiding under the bed the entire time.
It's a question really worth thinking about. Maybe the next time you hear a strange noise in the night or get a polite knock on the door when you're not expecting anyone. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.